detective from Overland Park that was out at the search.
Nude and covered with branches. She had a gray belt tied around her neck. Her clothing was found about 100 feet away from where her body was found.
She was just 18, full of dreams, and out shopping for her boyfriend's gift. But within minutes, her life was stolen in a crime that shocked an entire community. This is the chilling story of Kelsey Smith, a case that begins in a parking lot and ends in unthinkable tragedy. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to More Crime. We bring you new true crime videos every second day, each one uncovering stories that deserve to be told. June 2, 2007, began as an ordinary summer day in Overland Park, Kansas. For 18-year-old Kelsey Smith, it was filled with excitement. She had just graduated from high school and was preparing to celebrate her 6-month anniversary with her boyfriend. That evening, she drove to a nearby Target store to buy a gift. Nothing seemed unusual, just a teenage girl running a quick errand before heading home. But what happened in the next few minutes would change everything. Surveillance footage captured Kelsey walking through the aisles, picking out a CD, and then leaving the store. But outside, in the parking lot, a predator was waiting. As she stepped toward her car, she vanished, pulled into a nightmare that no one could have imagined. When Kelsey failed to come home that night, her family knew something was wrong. Calls went unanswered, her car was later found abandoned, and panic spread quickly. What began as a missing persons case soon escalated into a desperate race against time. This is the story of how a bright young girl's life was stolen, how investigators worked tirelessly to uncover the truth, and how her memory still impacts laws and safety today. It was a warm Saturday evening when Kelsey Smith left her home around 7 p.m. Her plan was simple: go to Target, pick out a gift for her boyfriend, and be back within the hour. She even called her mother from inside the store, a casual, everyday check-in that gave no hint of the danger lurking just beyond the sliding doors. Inside Target, security cameras tracked her every step. Kelsey moved through the aisles with the carefree energy of someone who had her whole life ahead of her. She selected a CD, the gift she wanted to surprise her boyfriend with, and made her way to the checkout counter. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing suggested that, in just minutes, her life would intersect with a predator's. As she walked out toward the parking lot, the footage showed a man following her. His movements were calculated, watching, waiting for the perfect moment. That man was later identified as Edwin Hall, a stranger to Kelsey, but someone who had already decided she would be his victim. Moments later, Kelsey vanished. Witnesses in the parking lot reported seeing something suspicious, what looked like a struggle near her car. By the time anyone realized what had happened, her vehicle was gone. Hours later, it was found abandoned across the street at a Macy's parking lot. Inside were her purse, her wallet, and the gifts she had bought. Everything was there, except for Kelsey. Her parents knew instantly that this was no teenage runaway. Kelsey was responsible, close to her family, and had plans that night. Something was terribly wrong. And with each passing hour, the urgency grew stronger. Somewhere out there, Kelsey needed help, but no one knew where to find her. When Kelsey didn't return home that evening, her parents felt something was wrong almost immediately. Calls to her phone went unanswered, and as the night dragged on, their worry turned into panic. By midnight, police were contacted, and within hours, the missing person report was filed. The investigation began at Target, where detectives pulled the surveillance footage. What they saw confirmed every parent's nightmare. On the screen, Kelsey appeared calm and unaware, shopping like any other teenager. But just moments later, a man was seen trailing her out of the store, and then, nothing. The camera showed her stepping outside into the parking lot, followed by the shadowy figure. That was the last anyone saw of her alive. Police quickly located Kelsey's car in a nearby Macy's lot. Inside were her purse, wallet, and shopping bag. To investigators, this was a red flag. A young woman does not leave behind her belongings voluntarily. Something sinister had taken place. news of her disappearance spread fast across Kansas. Hundreds of volunteers joined her family in handing out flyers, combing through fields, and checking ditches, desperately hoping to find a clue. Candlelight vigils were held as the community rallied together, refusing to let Kelsey's story fade into silence. Detectives worked around the clock, following every lead, but the trail seemed cold. Until they received one crucial piece of evidence: Kelsey's cell phone. Through GPS and cell tower data, investigators discovered that her phone had pinged its last signal near a wooded area by a lake. Search teams immediately swarmed the location, clinging to the hope that Kelsey was still alive. But what they were about to uncover would shatter that hope forever. On June 6, 2007, just 4 days after Kelsey vanished, authorities searching near a wooded area by Longview Lake made a chilling discovery. Guided by her phone's last signal, searchers combed through the brush until they stumbled upon something that stopped them cold. There, hidden in the undergrowth, lay the body of Kelsey Smith. She had been stripped of her dignity, her life stolen in the most brutal way. The hopes of her parents, her friends, and her entire community collapsed in that instant. The search was over, but the nightmare had only just begun. The medical examiner's report painted a horrifying picture. Kelsey had been abducted at gunpoint from the Target parking lot, forced into her own car, and driven to the secluded spot where she was assaulted and strangled to death. The level of violence shocked even seasoned detectives. This was not a random disappearance, it was a calculated, predatory attack. News of the discovery spread like wildfire, devastating the community that had prayed for her safe return. Candlelight vigils turned into memorials, and strangers who never met Kelsey mourned her as though she was family. Her parents, Greg and Missy Smith, were left shattered, their worst fears realized. But amidst the heartbreak, there was a burning determination: whoever did this would not get away with it. Police had surveillance footage, they had Kelsey's car, and now, with her body recovered, they had crucial forensic evidence. The question on everyone's mind was no longer, where is Kelsey? It was, who did this, and how soon can justice be served? Detectives working the case wasted no time. Surveillance cameras from the Target parking lot became the cornerstone of the investigation. The grainy footage showed Kelsey leaving the store and heading to her car, unaware of the predator lurking nearby. Moments later, a shadowy figure slipped into the driver's seat with her. Her car pulled away, and just like that, she was gone. Investigators released the footage to the public, hoping someone would recognize the man. And someone did. A tip led them to 26-year-old Edwin Hall, a married father living in Olathe, Kansas, just a short drive from where Kelsey had been abducted. Hall was no stranger to law enforcement. He had a violent past marked by domestic troubles and a history of abuse. When police zeroed in on him, they noticed his appearance matched the man in the surveillance tape almost perfectly. To strengthen their case, they dug deeper. Forensic analysis revealed Kelsey's belongings and DNA inside Hall's car. He had tried to cover his tracks, but evidence spoke louder than any excuse he could offer. Investigators learned that Hall had no connection to Kelsey, she was chosen at random. He saw an opportunity, and struck with chilling precision. When Hall was brought in for questioning, he denied involvement at first. But as the mountain of evidence grew, the truth became undeniable. This was not a crime of passion or impulse, it was a cold, deliberate act carried out by a man who had been hunting for a victim. The community, still reeling from the discovery of Kelsey's body, now had a face to direct their outrage toward. The mask had slipped, and the monster hiding in plain sight had finally been unmasked. By the time Edwin Hall was arrested, the case had already gripped the entire nation. People followed every development with bated breath, demanding justice for Kelsey Smith. The courtroom soon became the stage where the true depth of his brutality was revealed. Prosecutors laid out the timeline in stark detail. The jury listened in silence as prosecutors presented chilling evidence, surveillance footage, forensic results, and testimony from investigators who had pieced the puzzle together. It painted a picture of a calculated predator who had no remorse for the life he stole. Hall's defense had little room to argue. The weight of the evidence was crushing. At one point, Hall himself admitted to the crime, offering no real explanation for his actions other than claiming it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. But the evidence suggested otherwise. His stalking behavior and the way he executed the crime showed planning, not impulse. The trial didn't drag on for long. In July 2008, Hall was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Kelsey's family, the verdict brought a measure of justice, though no sentence could ever fill the hole left by her absence. The case became a haunting reminder of how quickly a life could be stolen, and how evil can hide in plain sight until it strikes. When the trial ended and Edwin Hall was locked away for life, the relief in Kelsey Smith's community was mixed with an overwhelming sense of grief. Justice had been served, but the reality remained: a vibrant, young woman's life had been brutally cut short. For Kelsey's parents, Greg and Missy Smith, the pain was unbearable, but they refused to let her story end in silence. Kelsey's parents turned unimaginable grief into strength, ensuring her death would not be in vain. Their fight has saved lives, and their courage continues to inspire. Still, nothing can erase the heartbreak of losing her. And that's why we share these stories. Not to reopen old wounds, but to keep the memory alive, to learn from tragedy, and to honor those who never had the chance to tell their own story. If Kelsey's story moved you, remember to stay aware, stay safe, and never take a single day for granted. We upload new true crime stories every second day here on More Crime, so if you want to hear more stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it so that Kelsey's voice, and the voices of so many others, are never forgotten. Her story may have ended far too soon, but her legacy will continue to speak for generations.